Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Hamish, and ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to be back here in Cannes. It's a particular pleasure for me to be back here with my wife, Tipper Gore, who is joining me here today. Thank you. And also, you will hear in a moment from my partner, Kevin Wall, who is the executive producer of the Live Earth concerts. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity to say a few words to you about the role of the advertising industry in helping the world community successfully address and solve the biggest and most dangerous crisis that our world has ever confronted. Some of you have heard me say in the past that the word crisis is expressed with a single word in English and French and in most of the Western and Romance languages, but in both Chinese and Japanese, the concept of crisis is expressed with two symbols used together. And the first of those symbols in the kanji characters, when used by itself, means danger, but the second, in isolation, means opportunity. And although I've used that story before, I don't think it has ever had a greater application to the subjects that are all intertwined that you have been discussing here and that are especially relevant to this session. Because while the climate crisis is the most dangerous crisis we have ever confronted in the history of human civilization, it also presents the greatest set of opportunities we have ever confronted. And for those of you who give advice on messaging to corporate clients, to organizations, to movements, to individuals, to others, the opportunity that is part and parcel of the climate crisis is bound up with the authenticity of the company's effort to be a part of the solution rather than to be a part of the problem. You are seeing, in my opinion, the early stages of the biggest business movement in the history of the world. Already there have been some rather startling developments with companies that were in the past not associated with a responsible approach to sustainability, now trying very hard to be identified with the effort to help solve the climate crisis. And those who are going about it in a genuine and authentic way are reaping the benefits that they deserve. And there is, in some ways, what has been described as a perfect storm, in the sense that many CEOs are hearing from their employees, from their executive teams, from their own families, from their shareholders, from their corporate partners, from their suppliers, from people in the communities where they operate, that all of these individuals would like to be identified with and work with a company and or an organization that is part of the effort to solve this climate crisis. Secondly, the increasing attention to the amount of a corporation's value that is bound up in its brand has been progressively recognized more and more for the last several years. And this industry has, of course, been a big part of the movement toward a broader recognition of the importance of brand and how the engendering of feelings and impressions that attach to a particular brand can have enormous economic value. And as more and more people around the world begin to look carefully at the true nature of the climate crisis, as they begin to connect the dots, if you will, that make up an ever clearer message about this unsustainable relationship between our civilization as we're currently pursuing it and the surprisingly fragile ecosystem of the earth, the value of brands becomes attached to the perceptions people have about the attitude and behavior of companies toward the global environment. And so it is a push and pull scenario. Those companies that authentically and genuinely become part of the solution do enhance their brand value. Those that are seen as being a part of the problem or standing in the way of a solution are running a risk of great damage to their brand value. Third, depending upon the company or the business sector or the industry involved, there are genuine and, in some areas, very large opportunities to increase profits and to make more money by adopting the new, more efficient, energy-efficient, and resource-conserving approaches that probably should be adopted for other reasons anyway, but have not been because of the simple barrier of inertia and the momentum that's always associated with a desire to stay with tried and true techniques that have worked in the past. The effort to reduce pollution, particularly CO2 pollution, has served as a tool to identify and then eliminate sources of waste and wasteful practices that would have been and would remain invisible except for the use of this proxy marker to get at the reduction of the pollution. Of course, as you know, the climate crisis is still growing. We are putting 70 million tons of global warming pollution into the Earth's environment every single day. About 25 million tons of it goes into the oceans of the world every single day. The temperature of the planet has already been increasing and is projected by the scientists that use these powerful and ever more accurate and sophisticated computer models to understand what the increases might be in the future. Just last week, there was a new study that focused on this part of the Mediterranean. And without repeating the scientific findings, this part of France, Spain, Italy, Greece are among the areas that, unless we take action, would be hit very, very hard by heat wave intensity, by increased drought, and all the rest. According to that report, one way to put it into terms that are more accessible to those of us who are non-scientists is to point out, as they did in their report, that if this trend is uninterrupted, the hottest 2 weeks of the summer now would be the coolest 2 weeks of the summer. And the temperature extremes that were associated with the heat wave of 2003 that caused 35,000 deaths in Europe that summer would be low compared to the peaks of temperature in the future.